Justin T, you're a sight to see, strutting in socks as bright as can be, with maple leaves and rainbow hues, a fashion statement we didn't choose. You flash that smile, you strike a pose like the star of Canada's reality shows. But while you're busy playing the part, who's steering the moose-drawn cart? Oh, Justin, fancy socks Trudeau, what's your next scandal? We all wanna know. From lockdowns to truckers, you sure made a scene, but your selfies, man, they're squeaky clean. You told us to stay home, keep the door shut tight, while your photo ops lit up the night. Flatten the curve was your famous refrain, but your poll numbers never felt the pain. Then came the truckers with horns that blare. You met them with cops like you just don't care. You froze their funds, you called them names, but Justin, aren't you the king of the blame games? Oh, Justin, fancy socks Trudeau, what's your next scandal? We all wanna know. From lockdowns to truckers, you sure made a scene, but your selfies, man, they're squeaky clean. Ethics breaches, oh, who's keeping score? Your charity scandals leave us wanting more. With every stumble you manage to spin, dancing around like you're destined to win. A master of drama, you cry on cue. A one-man Broadway, it's all about you. From blackface blunders to AgaCon trips, your legacy's packed with comedic scripts. But hey, at least your socks are bold, a distraction tactic that never gets old. So here's to you, our selfie king, the Bard of Ottawa, let freedom ring. Oh, Justin, fancy socks Trudeau, what's your next scandal? We all wanna know. From lockdowns to truckers, you sure made a scene, but your selfies, man, they're squeaky clean. So let's raise a toast to the man with flair, with his socks and his scandals and his well-coiffed hair. Justin Trudeau, you're a comedy gold, a tale for the ages, forever retold.
Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the Maverick News Channel. I hope we get through tonight's broadcast without an internet interruption, but we'll see how it goes. We obviously need to make some changes to our internet and improve the service because we keep getting cut off, but we're here right now. Now, what are we going to talk about? LA wildfires. That seems to be a problem that is not just not going away, but is spreading, expanding, getting worse. We'll show you the latest there. We're going to go to a news conference out in LA where we're going to get an update from local officials there. We'll talk a little bit about the water problems they're having. And Justin Trudeau has lost another one, another key cabinet member, prominent Liberal. I'll tell you who it is that is not only not going to run for the leadership, not going to run for re-election. The Liberals are jumping ship ahead of the next election. So, lots of ground to cover tonight as we dig into the top news stories of the day, and we'll see how it goes. as long as everything is stable, maybe we'll even have an opportunity to go to the phones and give you a chance to weigh in on the conversation and exercise your right to free speech right here on the Maverick News Channel.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
You know, someone very profoundly once said, many years ago, that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on Earth.
The entire world is watching.
Every dictator, every crazy dictator in the world is watching.
The world is watching. On TV, the entire world is watching. On social media.
But the entire world is watching, and yes, they are seeing what we have apparently bravely been willing to say that others are thinking.
Stand for freedom. Literally stand for freedom. Let's get this done. The entire world is watching.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars.
Maverick News. Maverick News. Maverick News.
Let me have more control of my own destiny.
The world is watching.
Let's start with the California wildfires. Death toll has now risen to 13 as the Pallisades fire expands east to Brentwood and Encino. Basically, this is the rundown on where things stand at the moment. We have 5 devastating wind-fed fires that, as I just said, have now killed at least 13 people and have swept through 39,000 acres throughout the greater Los Angeles area. This has destroyed entire communities and more than 12,000 structures. Now, we also know that there are other people missing, at least 13. The LA County Sheriff, Robert Luna, has indicated that it's unclear if the missing persons reports are related to the fires, but one has to think that that is likely the case. Evacuation orders for the largest blaze, the Pallisades fire, have now expanded, that fire continuing to sweep east, threatening, as I just said, Brentwood and Encino, and it is only 11% contained. Now, we still have 150,000, actually more than that, just over 150,000 LA residents under evacuation orders. And Governor Gavin Newsom has called for an independent investigation into the loss of water pressure to local fire hydrants and the reported unavailability of water supplies from the Santa Ynez Reservoir. Some people really pointing to that, even suggesting that The reservoir may have been left empty or had been emptied, drained on purpose in advance of this. Of course, the reality might be somewhat different than that, and we can maybe get into that a little bit later on. It has something to do with maintenance, repairs that needed to be done on that reservoir. Los Angeles County has declared a public health emergency, warning that smoke and toxins from the fires could represent both immediate and long-term health threats to residents. Now, just a short time ago, local officials began assembling for a news conference to update the public with the latest information on relief efforts and efforts to bring the fires under control. We have this feed coming out of KTLA, and we'll share it with you here now. And here we go. Oh, we lost it. Here we go.
Engaging the White House makes the way for the rapid deployment of federal resources, including emergency personnel and financial assistance. While I was on my walkthrough today, I crossed paths with California Assembly Speaker Rivas, and actually the entire, I think, Assembly family was up in Altadena. I told the Speaker that the state has to be incredibly flexible and streamline all of their processes, and he has promised to work with us. My goal is to help communities rebuild like for like, if not better. But there are state and county requirements that can sometimes add an additional cost to the building process. My ask is that the state and the county work to ensure that we rebuild safely, but we must remove any new costly requirements not related to health and safety that would otherwise make it cost prohibitive for residents to rebuild. Government mandates cannot mean the difference between whether a community can afford to rebuild or not. We need to be extremely responsive to the individual needs of thousands of residents who are going to have to navigate this incredibly difficult process. Our community's resilience has always been inspirational, and it will be our guiding light as we move forward together. I understand that many of our residents are looking and thinking rebuilding is not just a priority, it is an urgent need. I've talked to people who know their home is gone and they want to begin today. I will make sure that the county works quickly to eliminate unnecessary red tape, ensuring permits are approved safely and swiftly so that reconstruction can begin as soon as possible. Again, my priority is to ensure that government becomes a facilitator, not an obstacle, as we move toward recovery. I will also prioritize creating one-stop service centers where all relevant departments are available in one place in real time to answer your questions, provide guidance, and support your rebuilding efforts. This will be designed with one goal: to make the recovery process as seamless and supportive as possible, and to make sure those resources are right there in the community where you are rebuilding. We're here to help, and we will continue to be here during every part of the process. With that, I'd like to bring up Los Angeles County Fire Chief Anthony Maroney. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Barger. So good afternoon. The Eaton Fire is now estimated to be 14,117 acres with 15% containment. Over 7,000 structures are damaged or destroyed, and 2,832 firefighting personnel are assigned to the Eaton Fire. Elevated critical fire weather conditions are predicted to begin this evening and continue through Wednesday. Moderate to locally strong Santa Ana winds will affect Los Angeles County today and tomorrow, and again Monday through Wednesday. The Los Angeles County Fire Department will be prepared. These winds, combined with low humidities and low fuel moistures, will keep the fire threat in Los Angeles County high. Please understand that the inevitable public safety power shutoffs that will be implemented prior to this life-threatening Santa Ana wind event are crucial to preventing new fire starts, and that they help save lives. Yes, they're a challenge to deal with, but it's certainly better than having another fire start. I would like to express my gratitude to the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors for their leadership and unwavering support of our residents, my fire department personnel, and me as fire chief. To our first responders battling these wildfires in the air and on the ground, we commend you for your relentless and fearless dedication in protecting residents throughout this great county. And finally, to our Los Angeles County residents, please be assured that we will continue to battle these wildfires until they are fully contained. We stand alongside all of you as we begin to plan for repopulation of evacuated areas, disaster recovery, and the rebuilding of your homes and your lives. I would now like to introduce California Interagency Incident Management Team 5, Operations Section Chief, Don Fraguglia.
All right. Thank you, Chief. Okay, so quick operational update here for the Eaton fire. Over here, as we start on the right flank in Santa Anita Canyon, things are looking really good across the front country here until we get to about here, and then we're starting to still see quite a bit of heat, quite a bit of work through here in this area. As we come across over here into the Altadena area, I want to just highlight this square box right here is a square mile. So it's a massive, massive area that we're talking about here. That's residential community. It's not wildland. It's a residence, and these are people's houses. So huge Herculean task to get through all this down here. We have a ton of work. It's many days, many weeks of work. Just wanted to highlight that a little bit. As we come through by the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, this is looking good. Again, crews engaged, boots on the ground, mopping up. All through the National Forest up here, we continue to make really good progress up there. The weather's in our favor. We're using air tankers, we're using helicopters, all the tools in our toolbox to go get and put this fire out right where you see it right here. So that'll be our goals in the coming days. So thank you very much.
Okay. Let's just pull out of that. Now, of course, this whole thing, this disaster, has generated all kinds of polarization and controversy, accusations. Let's just go to the local Fox News affiliate out in LA for this live update, and we'll get the latest on the fire, what they're doing with it, and they're going to give us a take on the weather as well. Here we go. Here's some images from Fox News.
These fire retardant planes, they're not making direct strikes on the fire. What they're doing is they're trying to make sure it does not progress any further past that red line that they're drawing. It is time for us to step away. Our coverage with Fox LA continues in a moment.
Okay. So, as I say, controversy, and one of the people, a lot of influencers, celebrities, fueling that controversy, and it's burning on social media. Here's Mel Gibson on Fox News with his theories. Let's run this clip and we'll take it from there. Here we go.
Well, you know, I know. Well, you know, I know they were messing with the water, letting reserves go for one reason or another. They've been doing that a while. California has a lot of problems that sort of baffle the mind as far as why they do things. And then in the events like this, you sort of look, oh, is it on purpose? Which, it's an insane thing to think. But one begins to ponder whether or not there is a purpose in mind. What could it be, you know? I don't know. Do they want the state empty? I don't know.
Well, Mel, they're
I'm going to reserve comment. Man, Elon Musk is not being reserved in what he says, though. He's I don't know. I think he's enjoying very much his even higher profile as Donald Trump's sidekick, and his elevated status on social media, not only as the owner of X, but just as a growing celebrity influence. And of course, he's taking shots directly at the governor of California, Gavin Newsom. And this post says competence matters. Retweeting this, Gavin Newsom demands answers from whoever's in charge of California. Of course, that would be Gavin Newsom. And the governor himself today inviting, well, we know that he is calling for an independent investigation into what has gone wrong out there. And today he extended an invitation to the incoming president, Donald Trump, to come and tour the disaster area. Here's Gavin Newsom.
I was the pool reporter with you back in 2018 after the Woolsey fire when you came and visited with President Trump and then Governor Brown. I know you just put out a letter asking President-elect Trump to come here. What's your main message to him?
I'd like the President of the United States, at least the President-elect, to come and visit. The people out here, his lives have been completely torn apart. I want him to visit and understand the magnitude of this scope, what happened to the American people that happen to reside here in California. And it's with an open hand, not a closed fist. And I'm not interested in politicizing an event like this. I don't like the banality of it. I don't like the inhumanity of that. I would like people to focus on a collaboration between the executive in Washington, D.C. and in the state of California to help rebuild a community that's been completely ravaged.
We know we've seen some public back and forth, but have you two talked about this?
No.
And have you reached out to him?
I just reached out today, specifically, correct.
And he's not returning your call?
Alec, I just reached out to the President of the United States. We invited him to come here. I worked very well, as you know, you made that point as it relates to the Woolsey fire and the Camp Fire when we first met, ironically. We worked very well during COVID. And so that's my intention, has been from day one. We've said 100 times, open hand, not a closed fist. We're also not naive, and I think we have all the evidence in the world that bears fruit to the notion that we're not naive to prepare for a different reality, a radically different reality compared to what we just experienced in the last few days. You had a major disaster declaration that was done within 36 hours of this fire, which is extraordinary and unprecedented. You had 100% commitment on reimbursement for folks. You got a president that's just today is trying to figure out loose ends as it relates to significant work we do on infrastructure and parks and playgrounds and schools, and that will be an announcement we hope we can make in a matter of hours. I'm not interested in the theater of political consternation. That's what he's interested in. And I think it's pretty shameful, personally, but it shouldn't extend beyond this. I want to turn the page. I think everyone does.
And just to be clear, when you're talking about a president, now you're talking about President Biden, because we're going back and forth between the two presidents.
I'm talking about the current president of the United States that's done everything right without asking for anything in return, without leverage anything, with decency and respect to the people here in this community and to the American people, and I think in the spirit of this country.
And just lastly on that, I know President Biden is trying to set this up where we get funding for the next 6 months. Are you concerned that President-elect Trump may try to stop that?
Well, you should be. We all should be. It passed its prologue. So let's do everything in our power to avoid that. I mean, it's the idea that you had to ask that question, and I'm giving you a straight answer, and the answer is we should be concerned. It's obvious to anyone. So that's why we want to come out here, do the right thing. I just want to move on. This is an emergency. We can do all this dance, and we have differences of opinion as it relates to all kinds of issues and values, and and that's fair game, and that's important. That dialectic's important. But having this kind of friction when it comes to emergency response with emergency responders, these heroes, 12,000 that are on the front lines right now, taking care of people, making sure people are still alive. We're still doing emergency maintenance, evacuation. We're still concerned about flare-ups and spotting. You got kids right now that don't have money for baby formula, and we're trying to get them disaster assistance. You have folks in hotel rooms that have money only for tonight and don't know what's going to happen, haven't even had a chance to see their homes. Here it's standing or it's here and it's not standing. We want to get them emergency assistance over the course of the next 18 months. That's why I was with the FEMA director today, and that's what the President of the United States and I are talking about, and I'd like to have that conversation with the next President of the United States in a couple of weeks, and not have this back and forth that's rather childish from my perspective.
Okay, and I have to say thank you to the Cron for the $5 donation. Greatly appreciate the support as we try to pay the bills this month. Very lean. Now let's go back to this live coverage from Fox, the Fox affiliate in Los Angeles.
Yeah, at this stage, I think the most concerning spot is the Mandeville Canyon area. There's still a lot of smoke there, but there does not seem to be as much active flames. The wind appears to have died to some extent. Out in this area here, this is Topanga State Park, so as I understand, I cannot see any buildings there, but you can certainly see that red Phos-check where they've really tried to lasso this fire. They really want to try and get a line around it, again, before those big winds come in early next week. We'll make our way back towards the Mandeville Canyon area and just give you a better view before it gets nightfall, so you'll be able to see. I saw that the flames or the fires had actually reached to the top of to the Mandeville Canyon. And just while we're here, Marla and Susan, I'll put the map on to give you an idea. I think if I push in here to the left-hand side there, you'll see it's actually this is Mulholland Drive. So that fire road did exactly what it was supposed to do. You can see there one side is a bush and the other side is burnt. So and I'm tilting up here. This is that West Ridge. You may have anyone taking a hike up West Ridge Trail. This is the lookout at the top of that trail, and just to the below down here is Mandeville Canyon and the Old Sullivan Fire Road. Anybody that knows that area, and certainly as a pan further left, you're getting down into the Brentwood area of Sunset Boulevard. And that smoke that you see burning there is actually in Upper Mandeville Canyon.
Upper Mandeville Canyon. Yeah, I was wondering, because for those of us who are map challenged and directionally challenged, sometimes when somebody says northwest, you have to kind of do the calculus on what that means. For people watching the smoke and the orange glow from the San Fernando Valley, that's why they are watching these, our coverage, and also watching to see how close it comes to breaching over the Santa Monica Mountain Bridge. So this is consoling, I think, for people who like to see the fact that there's not as much active flame. It doesn't seem to be making as much progress as we saw overnight, which made things very dodgy and made people very nervous. Seeing white smoke is always a good sign. So we will take that.
If I might be able to butt in there, Susan. Here's myself too. I was at home watching, and I was thinking I really need to try to explain this to people at home. So the concern was that the fire would race down the hill here at the Mandeville Canyon and then come up this hill here. Obviously, fire burns faster uphill, as we all know. And then once it could reach, if it got over that hill, then really it was, you see the 405 there. there. That was really the concern. It's whether the 405 could stop it if it got that far, because unfortunately, once you go further than that, as I tilt up, you're into Bel Air, and not only the expensive houses, but the thousands of lives that would be impacted. As we are back over Mandeville Canyon here, I'm just going to push in a little bit, and you'll be able to see there is a little bit of active flame, but the fire is slowly making its way down towards the road, but the helicopters are hitting it, and it's actually being pushed, and it's almost burning back upon itself there. A very good example, you can see the smoke blowing south, and above that is a burnt area. So it's really just burning back upon itself, slowly making its way down the valley here to the road. Susan and Marla?
Yeah, that's a good consolation as well. And again, when you see that there is that push towards an area that's already burned, stuff is already burned. So that oftentimes is good news as far as a firefighter is concerned, because they can then keep an eye on it, and then it's all about just getting rid of the hot spots. I did see a little bit of a loom up, a little bit of a white smoke in that swath of Phosgec, which it's not 100% when you lay down that fire suppression line. It's not 100%. The fire can catch there as well, but it will move much more slowly than if it was naked without any kind of fire suppression.
And I really appreciated that, Justin.
Okay, and we'll come back to that in a moment. Now, a lot of people speculating that this, some of this may be the result, or maybe a lot of it, or maybe a little. How much, we don't know, but arson is the word that keeps coming up. And indeed, a homeless person, a gentleman by the name of Jose Escobar, was arrested for setting a home on fire. How much this kind of thing is contributing to the overall problem, I don't know, but I said last night, whenever you have an incident like this, it does trigger people with it's like a psychological disorder. That's why they call them firebugs, and it will trigger people with this condition to go ahead and commit acts of arson. This person arrested. Of course, he's proven guilty, I suppose, so still gets to go to court. Here he is setting something on fire. So I'm hearing a lot of stories, a lot of theories, and of course, if you listen to people like Alex Jones, it's all done intentionally with the goal of killing everyone. But I don't believe that. And these concerns about the reservoir being dry, they're legitimate. The water supply issues, yeah, that's something that is going to be investigated. It absolutely needs to be. But it's also important to keep these things in perspective. The main reservoir, the one in question, had been drained. No doubt about it. $117 million gallons of water drained from the Santa Ynez Reservoir. But, again, keep it in perspective. If you're hearing people say it's just because they want to kill everyone, I would say, dial that back a bit, if not a lot, if not entirely. The reason, and they're not telling, a lot of, Alex Jones, not one mention of this when I tuned into him today, not one mention of the fact that the reason the reservoir had been drained is because the cover had been torn. Now that might seem like not a big deal, but this is not a backyard swimming pool. All right, now here's an image of the reservoir. Just to give you some sense of perspective, This is like the size of a lake. Now, it's outdoors, obviously, because they need to keep a lot of water in it. Why was it drained? Because the cover had been torn. The cover is needed for a reservoir like that because without it, it leaves the water exposed to sunlight, to the elements, to the atmosphere. This is also for drinking water, not just to fight fires. If it's left exposed to the light, a reservoir like that, it will become vulnerable to algae blooms. Among other things, the algae blooms themselves, if they take hold in a reservoir, it creates toxins. And if you pump that water in that condition out to homes, it can kill people. That's why the cover is needed. So when the cover was torn, they had to do something about it. So they had to drain the reservoir, I guess, and then initiate repairs. Now, I don't have the details. Maybe there's more that obviously there's going to be more information coming out regarding that, but that's the reason. But I get concerned a little bit when I hear people conveying information that is very scary without providing proper context. Truth is important, and truth means having all the information, not just scaring the crap out of people. And yeah, I think that probably some mistakes were made, and that's why you need to review these things and find out what went wrong, what you can do better in the future, and where people have really screwed up, and where appropriate, you reprimand or hold people accountable, up to and including losing their jobs, or, if necessary, if somebody's done something illegal, then pursue that. But until we get there with facts and proper due process, I'm just one of those people that believe in proper procedures, because if you deviate from them and start acting like a mob, then things just get a whole lot worse, and you don't get to a better place that way. So hopefully cooler heads prevail, and the people out there who really need the help get the help they need. Hopefully politics doesn't get an upper hand here, and everybody pulls together to get these fires under control and help people rebuild. A lot of celebrities out there have lost their homes, Mel Gibson being one of them, Dennis Quaid, another. Here's Dennis Quaid.
Just good people here, and we're fighting as hard as we can to save our city. Gosh, I'd never thought I'd say that, but that's what's going on.
When you were forced to get out, how quick was it for Dennis Quaid?
Well, we were on the very edge of the first evacuation zone, which, that was the Pallisades fire. And so we've had it lucky. I have so many friends who've lost. My agent, he lost both of his houses. And another good friend over the Pallisades, he just moved into a house and he was renting the other one, and he lost both of them. I mean, what do you do? I mean, just to rebuild, you start to think about how long it takes to put a house together, and then you can't really hold it in your mind. I think that's a thing that kind of keeps us sane a little bit. It's kind of a blessing to not have to think about all of that stuff.
Yeah. It does make your mind race. It makes you, go to a negative place, and you start wondering why. But it's also important to stay grounded and not jump to conclusions, because that stuff can drive you crazy. It really, literally can drive you nuts. Okay, let's take a little break. I'm going to come back on the other side. I've got more on this and also more on the whole Canada as the 51st state debate. Don't go away.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals. Defenders of individual rights and freedoms. Credible. Trusted. Grounded in reality. Maverick News. Maverick News. Defending free speech. Free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, and so these images have been circulating online, but I need to stress that this is like fake, okay? So yeah, this is all AI-generated fakery. Just to be very clear, a lot of people wondering, and the truth is the Hollywood sign has not burned in these California wildfires. So if anybody's telling you otherwise, it's not true. But that just shows you how easily, I mean, that looks very realistic, but that shows you how easily people can be manipulated, lied to today. It makes me wonder about everything. Everything. Especially the situation with regard to war and politics, because so much is at stake and people seeking power will go to any lengths, many of them, to get what they want. At your expense, by the way. So yeah, Hollywood sign's okay, at least for the moment. The flames out there did not reach it. Some images here too, very striking. This from the NBC News site. I'm just going to scroll through them. If you want to see more of this, you can go to their website. But I just wanted to highlight some of these because these are just riveting images. Here we are. And it really just captures the scale, the devastation. Wow. Okay, let's, can we go back to the Fox News coverage? Do we still have that ongoing here? Maybe not. Hang on, again, let me take a break. I need to cue something up, so this is a short one. Be right back.
Maverick News. Fighting for freedom.
Okay, yeah, we've got some live coverage going on out there, so let me just pick up this feed. Here we go. They're in the middle of
500 Marines.
There we go.
We're going to have 500 Marines come up here to do fire suppression. I worked that mission very extensively. It does take days to do it because they have to be equipped. They even have to get new boots that they can wear in firefighting. They get shipped down from Idaho. So there's a lot that goes into doing these things, but it's an amazing operation. It just takes a little bit of time to get underway. You don't want to put people unnecessarily into harm's way.
Yeah, and of course the winds are cooperating more and allowing those water drops to happen, because I know necessarily it isn't that the aircraft can't fly in really turbulent weather. I know that it's not ideal. It's just that it can sometimes be pointless because the load will be lost and sprayed. In other words, it doesn't hit their targets.
That's a big challenge. Now, I will say one thing is that over the years, the optics, the sensor systems that they use in the aircraft are so much better than what they used to be. The old days where they literally do eyeball lining up, that's a long time ago. Now they use forward-looking infrared radar. They have other sensors they can use in the aircraft. Their positional data is so much better because of GPS and some other things that they do, that they literally can figure this out. And of course, the other part is predictive fire analysis to figure out where exactly to do the drop. So everything around that mission is so much more advanced than it was, say, 10 or 20 years ago, that when they do drop water or drop fire retardant or whatever, they do an amazing job. And I should mention, with fire retardant, they don't normally drop on the fire. The goal of using fire retardant is actually to drop it where the fire is going, so the fire burns out and stops.
Get ahead of it. Yep, absolutely. I learned a lot. I don't know.
I did too.
Yeah, Hal, you're just such a wonderful resource, and we thank you. I mean, I literally texted you, and next thing you know, you're on the air. So on a Saturday afternoon, we appreciate you. I know that you've been impacted too. You've had some friends that have lost homes in the Eaton fire. So our thoughts and prayers with you. You are safe, right?
I'm fine. Although on Thursday, I definitely was eye awakening. I think we all were waking up going, "Where is this fire that I'm having to evacuate from?"
With the false
alarms.
Yeah.
So
that was disconcerting.
I was like, that fire really moved.
Yeah, really. I know that was unnerving.
Because how is where? He's down in Orange County.
Okay.
Long Beach.
Long Beach.
We may come back. We will see. We've got other news to cover tonight, though. What else do we have for you? Well, I just lost that clip. U.S. Special Counsel Jack Smith has resigned. That's news. Breaking. That's fresh, too. That is something that has just happened. It was really breaking just before we came on air. This is the result of a court filing, which comes amid this legal fight to stop Attorney General Merrick Garland from releasing the special counsel's report of his investigations into then-President Donald Trump's efforts to overturn the 2020 presidential election. It's also related to his alleged mishandling of classified documents after Trump left office. So we know Special Counsel Smith handed over his final report, his 2-volume report, on Tuesday to the Attorney General. Garland says he is not going to release that report, or at least that part of the report, regarding the classified documents investigation. And Smith's office has been kind of winding everything up over the past few weeks. His resignation coming before Trump takes office later this month is not really unexpected. In addition to wrapping up his report and sending it off to the Attorney General, the special counsel's team has also provided an ongoing appeal over the special counsel's office powers to other attorneys inside the Department of Justice, and they have dismissed the 2 federal criminal cases against Trump because of his imminent return to the Oval Office. So that is actually breaking news. There may be more developments on that in the days ahead, but it's pretty clear why he's stepping aside with Trump coming back into office. Now, Jean Chrétien, former Prime Minister of Canada, appearing today on CTV Question Period, he weighed in on this whole question of Donald Trump's threat of across-the-board tariffs and saying Canada should be a U.S. state, the 51st state. But Chrétien today, a lot of experience there. He says that he thinks Trump will just back off on all this because he says the whole thing is unrealistic. I don't know how you guys feel about it. Share your comments in the chat, and I'll take a look there in a moment. But here's Chrétien on CTV. Here we go.
What's happening south of the border, and in particular, incoming President Donald Trump's threats on a number of different levels. First, of course, around tariffs, but lately, and more specifically this week, even calling on annexing Canada, Canada becoming the 51st state through economic coercion or economic force. What has been going through your head as you watch him make those comments?
It's not new that the Americans look at Canada. We even had a war in 1812, and we burned the White House. So, I don't take that seriously because I don't think it will happen. It's not in the interest of America not to have a good neighbor like Canada north. And for Mr. Trump, he does not realize that if Canada had been part of the U.S. a few weeks ago, he would have never become president because the Canadians would not have voted for him. And he would have lost clearly the Congress because there's only 2 or 3 seats. Canadians are not right-wingers a la Trump. The Canadians love our values, they love our mentality, they love the kind of society we have, a much more generous, tolerant society. And we don't have ghettos like they have, and that type of problem they have. We have less poor, and of course less rich than they have. And Canadians are very proud. And I read not long ago there was a poll taken around the globe, and Canada is still the best destination. They were asking the people, if you had to start again your life, where would you like to do that? And the majority were for Canada, way ahead of America.
So aside from him talking about us as a state or annexation, he has made a very specific threat about imposing 25% tariffs, a blanket tariff on all Canadian imports. If you were, you served not only as Prime Minister, but Finance Minister. If you were still in either of those roles, how worried would you be about the prospect of a trade war between these two countries?
We always had that type of problem. When I was Prime Minister, when I was Minister of Finance, when I was Minister of Trade, I was dealing with the Americans in 1968 when I was Minister of Northern Affairs, and I had problem between Yukon and Alaska. So, there is always some problems. We always resolve them easily. And, apparently he said this morning that he does not need our electricity. Fine. If he wants us to cut off the electricity, he will have to walk up the Trump Tower with candles to go to his office, because the state of New York rely a lot on electricity coming from Canada, mainly from Hydro-Quebec. So it's not realistic. He loves to be in the news, and the news give him a lot of space. But the reality is the reality. And my view is I'm not losing sleep over that. because they will probably suffer much more than we'll do if we have that type of war.
You think that's true?
Oh, yes.
My understanding is that, even in those visits to Mar-a-Lago, for example, what the people around Trump in his administration have communicated to our federal government is, yes, both sides will hurt in a trade war, but their belief is that Canada's economy will be more impacted. And I think economists have said that as well.
They're not to say the contrary when they want to negotiate. But I know that, we're in a better position because what they buy from us, they really need it. We can't go elsewhere than Florida if we want. We can get orange juice and a lot of products from other nations. But the electricity is not coming by truck or pipeline. And the type of oil they buy from Alberta, if they don't buy it from Alberta, they will have to buy it from Venezuela because it's a special type of oil they buy mostly from us. And they cannot replace it by something else. And it is all our oil in their calculation is part of the security of supply in their security rules for them. They consider that they will have access to this oil as long as they need it.
Yeah, there's insight there from a guy who's been around the block a few times. And then a couple more times after that, he, man, I remember Chrétien. Yeah, even when I was a kid. Met him a couple of times. Kevin O'Leary, still making headlines and enjoying his high profile in media on Fox News. Just backtracking a bit, going back to review this clip, where not only is he talking about, or has he been talking about conversing with Donald Trump, trying to negotiate an economic union on behalf of Canada, even though he is not an elected official. And as far as I know, he doesn't even live in Canada anymore. Born in Montreal, but living in the United States now. I don't know where he gets off negotiating anything or talking to the incoming president of the United States as though he represents Canada at all, because he doesn't. But so he's a little bit out of his lane there. But that's okay, Kevin. You go ahead and talk about buying TikTok now. Because he's got the bucks to do it. At least he does when he's working with other rich dudes. Hello, Kevin. Go ahead.
And we want to. And then on midday, 12:05, Trump will be who we have to work with to close the deal in the months ahead. So
to buy TikTok.
I wanted to let him know, as well as others in his cabinet, that we're doing this, and we're going to need their help.
Well, that's going to be a very interesting story to watch. I want to go back to that, but I want to...
And we want...
So the deal there is that, of course, the Biden administration has been threatening to shut down TikTok unless it's sold to, I guess, American interests, even though O'Leary is Canadian, or maybe he has dual citizenship. I'm not sure if he has dual citizenship. He ran for the leadership of the Conservative Party in Canada at one point, but he's unilingual, so he didn't stand a chance. I think he really just did that to create an opportunity for himself to inject his opinions into the leadership race at that time within the Conservative Party, give himself some profile. I liked him as a potential leader of the Conservative Party at that time. This time around, when I'm watching him do his, carry on with his shtick on Fox, I have to chuckle a little bit. But people take him seriously, I guess, in the way they're taking Trump seriously. And I think we should take Trump seriously. Kevin O'Leary, I guess you could take him seriously on the TikTok file, because Biden saying that they were going to force TikTok to be sold. Donald Trump actually trying to block that shutdown until he takes office. strangely enough. Timing, they say, is everything, right? Well, in this case, maybe that's exactly the situation, because O'Leary kind of positioning himself now to take control of TikTok, maybe buy it as Trump comes into office, and he seems to be humoring or maybe even praising the president, incoming president, on this whole 51st state stuff. But no, let's just make it an economic union. And he did have an actual phone call with Donald Trump to discuss that, and no doubt kiss the ring and suck up just a little bit ahead of Trump coming into office as he seeks to to take control of this extremely popular and influential social media platform. These rich guys, you know, if you can get control of a social media platform, you can control the way people think. It gives you leverage. You can literally sway elections with your algorithms. Oh yeah, so can foreign governments. In fact, we've seen, didn't Zuckerberg talk about this? Yeah, just in that interview with Joe Rogan. And then he was providing insight as well, and I don't know if I still have it. I think I lost that clip. Maybe, yeah. That was, I had it queued up for you, but I think I lost it. Well, maybe I can find it for you. Just give me a second. This was Mark Zuckerberg talking to Joe Rogan about foreign governments. In his interview. Yeah, it's going to be one of these. Yeah, here, how about I run a little transition while I cue this up? Don't go away. There's more ahead.
You know, someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on Earth.
The entire world is watching.
Every dictator, every crazy dictator in the world is watching.
The world is watching. On TV, the entire world is watching. On social media.
But the entire world is watching, and yes, they are seeing what we have apparently bravely been willing to say that others are thinking.
Stand for freedom. Literally stand for freedom. Let's get this done. The entire world is watching.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars.
Maverick News. Maverick News. Maverick News.
Let me have more control of my own destiny.
The world is watching. Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals. Defenders of individual rights and freedoms. Credible. Trusted. Grounded in reality. Maverick News. Maverick News. Defending free speech. Free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
I haven't seen this. I had it queued up. I hadn't even had a chance to listen to it, but I wanted to hear what he said. I haven't watched the whole interview with Mark Zuckerberg on Joe Rogan, but this clip in particular, I want to hear what he said. So I'm going to share it with you now. It's new to you. It's certainly new to me. It might be new to you. We'll see. I just want to know.
Election interference and foreign government manipulation of content is bad. Governments running these broad manipulation campaigns, I mean, we're not letting off the gas on that at all. China or Russia or Iran or like one of these countries, they'll set up these networks of fake accounts. They coordinate and they post on each other's stuff to make it seem like it's authentic and kind of convince people it's like, wow, a bunch of people must think this.
It just muddies the water of reality for a lot of people. You're a country that's involved in some sort of an international conflict, and you have this ability to get out this fake narrative and just spread it widely.
You get some tips from different intelligence agencies. This network of people is actually some kind of fake cluster of accounts, and that's against our policies, and then we just take them all off. We have a team of it's effectively like intelligence, counterintelligence folks, counterterrorism folks, AI folks who are building systems to identify what are these accounts. And it's an adversarial space. So so we find some technique, and then they basically kind of update their techniques. I think for the specific problem around these like large coordinated groups doing kind of like election interference or something,
there's always been this sort of input that the government had in mainstream media narratives. There has been CIA operatives that have been in major newspapers forever.
It's not just the government that has power. There's like certain people who are in these like culturally elite positions, and journalists, TV news anchors.
An enormous percentage of the population does not trust mainstream media anymore.
I think a lot of the people who people looked to before, they're kind of realizing, hey, they weren't super honest about a lot of these issues.
The push during COVID deteriorated, as you were saying before, the opinion and the respect that people have for the facts that are coming from mainstream journalism in a way that I've never seen before.
I think going to be just this whole new class of creators who basically become the new kind of cultural elites that people look at and are like, okay, these are the people who give it to me straight. That people trust Facebook or X. They trust the creators and the voices that they feel like are being authentic and giving them valuable information on there.
Strange times. I don't know. We can talk about it more another night. What else do we have going on tonight? I think I've covered most of the main stuff. Oh, yeah. But Trudeau has lost another one, eh? Yeah. I did mention this in the headlines. I don't want to let this slip away because Anita Anand, the transport minister, I think she was also prior to this the Minister of Defense for Canada. She says she is not going to seek the Liberal leadership when Justin Trudeau steps aside. This surprises me, kind of, but not entirely. I thought she might run, but I'm not. I can totally understand why. It's because whoever ends up with that job this time around is likely not going to have it very long because they're going to get crushed in the next election by the Conservatives. So it's a job I think really nobody wants. We are likely to see someone very weak step up and take that position unless, well, you could get someone high profile like this Mark Carney, the former Bank of Canada governor. Maybe. My guess is we're going to get somebody kind of wishy-washy. A sacrificial lamb from the Liberals. Here's the statement from Anita Anand saying she's not going to run. So since 20 19, I have been deeply honored and humbled to serve as Oakville's member of parliament and as a member of cabinet. In these roles, I've given all I have to keep Canada safe, strong, and free. I entered public life because I wanted to make a meaningful contribution to my community and country, a goal instilled in me by my parents who immigrated to Canada before I was born. She goes on and on and on. And she indicates in here that she is not only not going to run for the leadership of the party, but it says here today, I'm announcing that I will not be entering a race to become the next leader of the Liberal Party of Canada, and I will not be seeking re-election as the member of parliament for Oakville. I will continue to honorably execute my roles as a public office holder until the next election. So she's gone, or will be soon, as well. She must, I don't know, maybe she's just looking for a career change. The atmosphere, very toxic politically in Canada right now. It's a thankless job. That's the downside to all the negativity and negative energy, all the criticism and even outright vile hatred that is directed at politicians, regardless of their political stripe. The problem that creates is when the job becomes that dangerous even, who the hell wants it? So it's hard to recruit really top-level talent. It's been a problem for a long time. I mean, think about it. If you're really, really smart and really successful, and you have a great job and a great life, and you can influence things in other ways, why would you want, unless you're really compelled and you're very patriotic, community-minded, and you want to step up and serve your community, why would anyone want to take on the role of, say, a premier or a governor of a state where one thing goes wrong and you get all the blame? Well, worse than that, you run for president of the United States and somebody shoots your ear off. It's a pretty thankless job. And I've seen it over and over and over again. A politician comes in, they get elected, there's a honeymoon period where they're just loved, and then from that point on, it's just a slow ride downhill, generally speaking, in terms of public popularity, until you get to the point where they're just hated. And they leave office, not popular at all, people hating them. But I would say this, it's a position that anyone who is wise and deserves the position anyway, you have to go into that understanding that, knowing that ultimately it is a position of sacrifice. It's a sacrifice all the way along. It's a sacrifice of your time. It's a sacrifice, or it should be, a sacrifice of sometimes even money. Because often if you've got someone who's really successful, they could be making a lot of money running a major company or doing other things. But they take a political job, and if they're doing it properly and not skimming cash or enriching themselves at the public expense, they don't make that much. In fact, if you recall, Donald Trump didn't even take a salary, I don't think, the last time he was president. So it's a position of sacrifice that way. But in the end, you pay the ultimate political sacrifice. Because when you're in a position like Prime Minister, where Justin Trudeau is right now, it's your job, when things get really toxic, to step aside. You do it because you take the blame. You take one, you take a bunch of them, really, for the team. The team being your country. You take the blame and move on so that you keep the peace, so that the people get to vote, bring in somebody new, fresh blood, and start anew. That's part of the democratic process. That's part of the gig. That's what you have to be prepared for that before you ever get elected the first time, knowing that in the end you'll probably have to leave office being not just unloved but hated. I've seen it time and time again. Premier Mike Harris, Conservative, Ontario, covered him for a number of years. He came in, he was popular in the beginning. By the time he left, of course, the socialists, the NDP, the liberals, they really ganged up on him, painted him as the next coming of Adolf Hitler, and he left office not very popular. And that was a guy who came in and did what very few politicians do. He did what he said he was going to do. Kind of like what Trump did, at least on the fiscal side. Of course, Mike Harris nowhere near the celebrity that Donald Trump is. He's not as bombastic. He was more businesslike, more of I would say, a traditional conservative at the time. That's kind of beside the point in this discussion. I'm just saying that he came in popular and went out hated. And you can point to almost every politician who's been around for any length of time, and yeah, you're going to end up leaving office in a very unpopular position. Trudeau, that's a special case. Okay? Yeah, absolutely a special case. He should have left quite a long time ago. He should have resigned around the time of the pandemic. He should have, in my view, with the mistakes that were made and the way it was handled politically. I'm not talking, about, I don't want to relitigate or debate the lockdowns, the masks, all the mandates and everything from the logistics or even the health side. I'm just talking about politically. It was not handled well. He was heavy-handed, authoritarian. He invoked the Emergencies Act, which is the Canadian equivalent of or the new version of Canada's War Measures Act. He used that against, his own people, in that instance, and he just was overbearing and just went way, way, way too far. It was a mistake, not only for the people, but even for himself politically. That's ultimately the moment that destroyed his time in Parliament as Prime Minister. He's paying the ultimate price for it now because it's from that all this hatred has flowed. It's all been flowing from that. And it's just given more and more ammunition to his political adversaries. It's been that downhill climb. It's that steep downhill momentum, right? It's finally caught up to him. I told you it was only a matter of time. And he's going to go. He's going to go. He will not, despite all the theories that, he hasn't resigned yet, he's going to, I'm saying, this is me predicting Justin Trudeau will step aside as leader. But I will say this too. I don't think we've seen the last of him. I think he'll be back. He will be back. People are fickle and memories are short. The public's memory is short collectively. And he's got that name. He's a political creation and a political animal. And he's going to be around. You mark my words. Within years, his father came back too. So I think that's going to happen. All right, let's take a little break. I got to take a look at where we're at here and assess on where we go with this program next. I don't know, but it's going to be a surprise, so stay with me.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
Just a little bit of news out of Ukraine. And then I've got a joke for you to brighten your day. So we have reports tonight indicating that Russian troops have taken control of Shevchenko village in the Donetsk region. Now, why are they there? Well, they have seized control of the lithium mines and deposits in that area. That is known for one of the largest lithium deposits in all of Europe. So it's significant for the Russians as they seize control of what is often referred to as white gold. Obviously, lithium's in extremely high demand globally. There's a shortage of it, in fact, as the world shifts towards electric vehicles and renewable energy solutions. And so, with that gain inside Ukraine at seizing that territory and those resources, Russia stands to benefit immensely by taking that from Ukraine. The Shevchenko lithium mine deposit is estimated to contain millions of tons of lithium ore, and that will provide Russia with a substantial boost to its lithium reserves. The move could potentially reduce Russia's reliance on importing lithium and give it a stronger position in the global lithium market. And you wonder why they went into Ukraine? They need the lithium for car batteries and batteries for other electrical devices as the electrification of the auto industry continues, not just here, but also over there. Controlling that resource could have geopolitical implications, especially those deposits, because if Russia controls them, the wealth from that goes to Russia, and other countries will simply not have it. And over here, we are increasingly reliant on China for lithium, because even the lithium deposits in other countries are largely controlled by China. So as the world marches toward an electrified auto industry, Donald Trump might have some real wisdom there when he says he's going to tap the brakes on the speed at which cars are being converted to electric. Now, that's not to say that Ukraine is losing a lot of territorial ground here. They're of course still entrenched in the Kursk region, and the Russian economy is under extreme strain, and Ukraine is going after energy infrastructure, oil and gas and pipelines, trying to cut off the flow of gas to Europe and shut down as much of Russia's oil industry as possible. This is footage of one of the largest refineries in the Russian Federation, Tenneco, it's on fire. And as you can see here, it's substantial. Ukraine keeps hitting their energy infrastructure over there. Russia also trying to shut down the energy infrastructure inside Ukraine, but that's to freeze the people out and demoralize the population. In this case, Ukraine is trying to inflict as much stress on the Russian economy as possible because all the revenue from that energy that flows out of Russia and into the world market and into Europe, all that revenue, of course, is what is used to support the Russian economy and, of course, the Russian war machine as well. Here's the fire at the refinery. A little hard to see from a distance, but you can see the flames and the smoke in the background there. And you can see the buildings on fire inside the refinery itself. I saw some footage yesterday too at a refinery, and it looked like the Russian firefighters are actually standing in fuel, refined fuel, while they were dumping firefighting foam on it. It made no sense to me, so I don't know how accurate the narration on that was or the assessment of it. But if they were standing in the fuel, well, spraying foam and the flames were just a short distance away, you'd have to be freaking insane. I don't know what that was about, but that seemed a little weird. It was real footage. Now, I'm thinking maybe it wasn't fuel. I think that people were saying that, but it was probably water. But I don't know. I don't know. It was very strange. If anybody knows anything about that, put it in the chat, because what I saw in terms of that video yesterday made no sense to me at all. Maybe the narrators were just joking. I don't know. Made no sense to me. I'm going to go to the chat here for a moment and see what people are saying. What do we have here? Yeah, Rosie, that's right. Children are being used to mine in Africa. That's true. Russia also has been, they've used their Wagner military groups to go in there and assert Russian force and, shall we say, security in diamond mines in Africa. A lot of people are not aware of that. Very true. And Rosie says she agrees with my take on O'Leary. Yeah, whatever my take is. I don't know. That guy, he's a media hound. He likes to lick up all the attention he can get. And he profits from it too, he really does. And all these Canadians, who is he to speak for Canada? All these people who say they're Canadian or they speak as Canadians, and they don't even live here anymore. And I used to be a really big fan of Jordan Peterson, and I'm not a fan now. It's just I kind of wonder about what's going on with him, because there's another guy, right? He's supposed to be on the conservative side. He's pro-Trump, but when I've seen the way that things have evolved with him, he used to be with the NDP. He used to be, maybe still is, kind of a socialist. But they portray him as being this far-right guy. Although, as I say, these things kind of wrap around, and if you're on the far right of the social spectrum, I think they're both over here on the left. I've always looked at it that way. And here's Jordan Peterson, and it leaves me scratching my head, because he used to be at the NDP. Now he's portrayed as this far-right, almost like fascist, according to his critics, or some would say conservative, Canadian guy. Yeah, he, everyone applauded when he stood up against the being forced to use gender-specific pronouns, the enforced, the attempt to sort of force people to speak in a particular way. The he, him, it, whatever. I can't keep them straight. I don't mean to be disrespectful. I can't. I don't understand. I can't. I just don't know what to say. I can't follow it. His, her, whatever. Anyway, he refused to do it, and that's what propelled him to social media celebrity status. But then look, I look at what's happened to him over time, and like so many others, he expresses all these concerns about the vaccines, but he got vaccinated. And during the pandemic, he was crossing the border when others, because I stood up against the vaccines. The main reason, well, I had, a couple of reasons. I was concerned about the speed at which they'd been developed and testing and, safety and efficacy and all of those questions, which I'm still questioning even today, especially after seeing the way, everything went down. So I'm skeptical about a lot of things, but also it was the politics behind it and forcing people. Like, I don't like that. And I think that everything was basically upside down. But, as a result, I was locked up in Canada, and there were a lot of things, like a lot of people, you weren't able to do if you didn't get vaccinated. But there was Jordan Peterson. He was traveling, crossing the border, doing interviews on social media. And after being vaxxed, he's then telling people that he's against the vax. There are others too, doctors even. A lot of things with this don't make sense to me over time. Dr. Robert Malone. There's the guy who developed the technology for the vaccine, the mRNA technology. He was directly involved in it. And then he goes around telling people that it's not safe. Who else? Oh, there are a bunch of them that got vaxxed and then came out against Dr. What was it? Shoemaker? Is that the guy's name? Yeah, I think he goes around. He got all fully vaxxed up and then went on tour calling out the vaxes, the vaccines. And people are like, yay, Dr. Shoemaker's coming to tell us not to get vaxxed. The guy's vaxxed. Explain it to me, because it defies logic for me. All right? I'm just saying. And people are like, he's our hero. He's going to save us. What's this about? And this, to come full circle on what I'm trying to get at here too, is, Jordan Peterson just moved out of the country. He doesn't live in Canada anymore. He moved to the States. Him and his daughter. Yeah, they both live out of the country now. But they still, wear that maple leaf. As though they're proud. And then I see all this talk of the 51st state and all these freedom fighters who are standing up for the country. They're all saying Trudeau is guilty of treason. And as soon as Donald Trump wants to take over the country, they're like, yeah, right on. And they start, and literally some of these guys, they even use freedom in their name, they're flying an American flag outside their frickin' house. As though and they're supposed to be Mr. Frickin' Canada? What the hell is that? Something's not right, folks. Something is definitely not right. And here I sit night after night after night, sticking up for the country, being truly patriotic, and all these other people who claim to be patriots and want to put Canada first, they're like Canada last. All it took was for Donald Trump to get reelected and then come in and say, I think I'll just annex Canada the way that Vladimir Putin annexed Crimea from Ukraine. I'll just take it. Yeah, they should be the 51st state. And people are like, like a lot of people not happy about it, but some of the people who have been the most vocal about politicians and foreign interference, and they're eager, willing, and they want to help to take down the country and hand our sovereignty over to the USA. To a guy who's very patriotism itself, I'm beginning to question as well. I just don't know. Help me out here. Yeah, Tinfoil Hat says, I'm moving to Miami Beach. Well, me too. If we get taken over, I am definitely going to move someplace warm. And the best thing is, as much as Donald Trump is worried about the border security, if we become a state, there won't be a border anymore. We can just drive right over. So that would be a good thing. So I'm all for that. So yeah, Donald Trump, makes no sense. You're worried about border security, so then you talk about annexing Canada, so it will dissolve what you call an imaginary, artificial border. Hello? Anybody home? Doesn't make sense. I want border security, so I'll just annex the country and do away with the border. It's upside down world, folks. And we're all being sold something. And I don't know exactly what it is. I have an inkling. I don't like it. Because whatever it is, they're not telling us exactly what it is. We have to keep guessing. Yeah. But somebody, somebody sent me, a friend of mine. He sends me humorous things by email. Mostly I just let the stuff wash over me. But today he sent me a joke. And I'm going to share it with you. Here, because it really did make me laugh. And this is all about the 51st state. So here's the joke. I'm going to read it. Normally I'd get my dad to do this because he's much better at it than I am. And he memorizes these kinds of things. I don't know how he does it. He's just tons of jokes in my dad's repertoire. I've had him on the program. We'll get him back on to brighten our day another night again. But here's the joke. Newfoundland, Canada declares war on the USA. So President Trump was in the Oval Office when his telephone rang. Hello, President Trump. I can't do a great impression of Trump, but hello, President Trump, a heavily accented voice said. This is Archie up here at our Seal Pub in Badger's Cove, Newfoundland, Canada, eh? I'm calling to tell you that we are officially declaring war on you. Well, Archie, Donald said, this is indeed important news. How big is your army? Right now, said Archie, after a moment's calculation, there's myself, me cousin Harold, me next-door neighbor Mick, and the whole dart team from the pub. That makes 8. Donald paused and said, I must tell you, Archie, that I have 1 million men in my army waiting to move on my command. Wow, said Archie, I'll have to call you back. Sure enough, the next day Archie called again. Mr. Trump, the war, it's still on. We've managed to acquire some infantry equipment. We have 2 combines, a bulldozer, and Harry's farm tractor. We got them from the Freedom Convoy peoples. President Trump sighed and he said, I must tell you, Archie, I have 16,000 tanks and 14,000 armored personnel carriers. Also, I've increased my army to 1.5 million since we last spoke. Lord above, said Archie, I'll be getting back to you again. Sure enough, Archie rang again the next day. President Trump, the war is still on. We've managed to get ourselves airborne. We up and modified Harrigan's ultralight with a couple of shotguns in the cockpit. And 4 boys from the Legion have joined us as well. Donald was silent for a minute and then cleared his throat. I must tell you, Archie, that I have 10,000 bombers and 20,000 fighter planes. My military complex is surrounded by laser-guided surface-to-air missile sites, and since we last spoke, I've increased my army to 2 million. Jumpin's Lord Thunderin', 2 million, you say, said Archie. I'll have to call yous back. Sure enough, Archie called again the next day. President Trump, I'm sorry, I have to tell you that we had to call this here war off. I'm sorry to hear that, said Donald. Why the sudden change of heart? Well, sir, said Archie, we've all sat ourselves down and had a long chat over a bunch of pints and come to realize that there's no way we can feed 2 million prisoners. Canadian confidence cannot be shaken. And with that, folks, I'm going to sign off for tonight. Love you guys, and I think what we'll do is let Cosmo take us out again. Cosmo the Freedom Dog. Here Here's the title track from our 10-song collection, and I have to send this out to some people who made donations over the last couple of days. I'll send you the downloads for these songs as promised. Sorry for the delay. We're just having a lot of internet trouble here, and it only just came back on again just shortly before the broadcast. Hopefully we keep it cranked up and operating so that I can join you again tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on The Flip Side.
I heard old Cosmo howling last night up on the hill where the moon shines so bright. He was singing a tune, lonesome dogs cry about freedom and running and touching the sky. If I leave here tomorrow, would you still remember me? Cosmo's free, running wild, wild as the wind can be. He's a free dog, he's a free dog, he's a free dog. Cosmo's got them paws that just itch to roam. He's chasing his dreams, he's far from home. With a heart full of love and a spirit so free, he's living his life wild and carefree. If I leave here tomorrow, would you still remember me? Cosmo's free, running wild, wild as the wind can be. He's a free dog, he's a free dog, he's a free dog. He's got the stars in his eyes, the wind in his fur, a tail that wags like it's never heard of a blur. Cosmo's on a journey, he's got no chains. He's running through fields, breaking all the lanes. Now the night's getting cold and the sky's turning gray, but Cosmo's still out there, he's miles away. He's not looking back, he's got his path to tread. With every step, he's leaving his bed. If I leave here tomorrow, would you still remember me? Cosmo's free, running wild, wild as the wind can be. He's a free dog, he's a free dog, he's a free dog. So if you're feeling lost, just think of Cosmo's run. Remember his spirit, his freedom, his fun. And maybe one day, when you're feeling alone, you'll find your own freedom and let your spirit go. If I leave here tomorrow, would you still remember me? Cosmo's free, running wild, wild as the wind can be. He's a free dog, he's a free dog, he's a free dog. He's got the stars in his eyes, the wind in his fur, a tail that wags like it's never heard of a bird. A heart full of love and a spirit so free. He's living his life wild and carefree. He's got the stars in his eyes, the wind in his fur, a tail that wags like it's never heard of a bird. Cosmo's on a journey, he's got no chains. He's running through fields, breaking all the lanes.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.